Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. My name is Emily and this is my son Luke. Luke, how old are you?
8.
And what are we painting today?
Cherries.
Cherries, one of my favorite fruits. So delicious. All right, we're gonna try to make the shiniest, prettiest red cherries you've ever seen. Let's get started. Check out supplies you'll need for this. If you're painting and sketching right along with us, you'll need some watercolor paper. We have two 5x7-inch sheets of ready cut watercolor paper. These are by Strathmore. And I've just taped them down with some Blick Artist tape just to keep them from sliding around and to keep the paper from buckling and warping. We've got some colors in front of us. This is Phthalo Blue, Ultramarine Blue, Quinacridone Rose, Pyrrole Scarlet, New Gamboge, and Hansa Yellow Light. But if you don't have those exact same colors, that's okay. In fact, we're only going to be using a couple of them. So find something you have that sort of matches and you'll be just fine. We also have a watercolor brush, a pencil, and a Sharpie. I like to use round brushes. These are size 8. It's a perfect size. And make sure you have water jars and some rags or paper towel for blotting. We're going to start with our sketch. What shape are cherries?
Triangle.
Wow, so you're seeing a triangle, and I know what you're looking at. You're looking at the stems. They totally do make a triangle shape. So we can start with the stems. That's actually a really good idea. We're going to start with a triangle shape for the stems. It's 2 cherries, in fact. It's an upside down V shape, kind of curved. Very nice. And at the base of each of those stems, we're going to put a circle shape, a little one like this. Actually, it's an oval, sort of a horizontal oval. Do you know what that is that we're just sketching there? That's where the dip in the cherries are. Big dip. In each of those cherries, we see a little divot at the top. It's not a perfect circle because there's like a little crater in it where the stem attaches. Now, around that, watch me first, we're going to add our cherries. And they're going to be kind of bumped up against each other. Now, sketch sort of lightly because we have to make some circle shapes here. This is the hardest part, is making nice circle shapes. Can be sort of tricky. Just do your best. So the first one on the left is going to be in front of the one on the right slightly. So it's okay if you make it a little bit bigger even than the one on the right, because it's closer to us. That's a way you can make something appear closer, is by having the thing in front a little bit bigger and the thing behind a little smaller. Great circle for eyeballing it. Nice work. Now we're going to actually put the other cherry really close behind. So make it an incomplete circle. Imagine the circle going behind the cherry in front. And there's your second cherry. Now you can spend some time making your circles, more perfect if you want. If you're not happy with the circle shapes, you can adjust them with your eraser. I wasn't quite happy with mine, so I'm going to fix mine a little bit. And we have something called a kneaded eraser. If you don't like using the erasers that come on pencils, these work really well too, because they don't get gunk all over your paper. Yeah, now they don't have to be perfect. It's okay. This is just an illustration. Those look pretty good. Now I will suggest one thing where the stems come down. Let's make them a little more oval shaped rather than circles. Because they're at the top of the cherry, we can't see them straight on like full circles. We're only seeing them as ellipses. Slightly different curved shape. Do you know what an ellipse is? I'll draw it on the tape so you can see. It's more of a shape like this rather than a circle, an ellipse. Yeah, not a perfect circle. Good. Okay, let's make our stems just a little bit thicker. So we're going to widen them by making a parallel line right next to our first line. We don't want them to just be single lines because they won't look like they have any kind of depth to them.
And we won't be able to paint in them.
Yeah. So we'll get to color those in with our green that we're going to mix with these colors up here. And then you can just add a little thing at top where the cherry stem connects. Just a little circle. Yep. And if we want to add a leaf, do you want to add a leaf? We can put it on either side of the cherry. In fact, I would put my leaf over here if I were you, because your paper, you're kind of running out of room on that side. So maybe put a leaf coming this way, and I'll show you how to do that a leaf shape, it's kind of like your ellipse, except it's got a point on one side. So try making your leaf going to this side of the cherries. That way our two paintings will be a little different as well. And then draw the boat-shaped bottom, like the bottom of a boat curving back up to the stem. Nice. And then we'll draw a center line through the leaf like that. Very good. All right, are we ready to outline with our Sharpies? Now, the only thing we're not going to outline is these little ellipses in the center, because we're going to just use paint for that, so don't outline that. But the cherry itself, you can outline. Looking good. Now I said to wait on outlining that little ellipse at the base of the cherry stem, but I'm just going to outline the bottom of it like that. So it's going to be kind of a curved, wide U shape, or like a smile almost. And just like that, boom, cherries. Great job. That sketch looks amazing. Let's go and erase all of our pencil lines. So we have a nice clean Sharpie drawing ready for paint. Good work. Love it. Now the goal is to make our cherries look really shiny. To do that, we're going to need to leave a highlight. Let's put our highlights on the left side of our cherry. And I'm going to actually draw a little bit of a highlight so I know where I want to put it. And see how it's kind of wrapping around this corner, not corner, but this left side of the cherry at the top. So this is suggesting that there's a light source coming from up here. So we want to imagine what we're drawing here is where the light is hitting. So maybe just this top section right there. And I'm going to draw a highlight on the other cherry as well. We're doing the light spots on the tops of the cherries. And getting precise shapes can be kind of tricky. Just do your best. So little puddle shapes almost at the very top of the cherries. Really close to that dip in the cherry. Nice curved puddle shapes. I love it. We're not going to outline those with our Sharpie. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take a very light tinted wash of our red. And what do I mean by a tinted wash? Any idea? A wash is when you apply wet watercolor to your paper. What we're going to do is tint it with a little bit of red first. So we'll take some water on our palette, and then we're going to dab in the red and swirl that on the palette. And you see how it tints the water? Suddenly we have a tint of red. That's nice. And that is actually going to be the lightest color on our cherries. We're going to leave a little bit of white in the highlight, but everything else we're going to cover with this tinted wash. Let's make it just a little darker with some of our other red too. This tinted wash of red. Okay, so load up your brush with that red, make it nice and juicy, and paint around the highlight as quick as you can. But just go ahead and fill in your circle everywhere except the highlight. And use the tip of your brush to stay inside of your lines as best you can. And if you're a little outside of them, that's okay too. It makes it really look fun and painterly and whimsical. And work quickly, because we're going to try, while this is still wet, to drop in some darker colors. So coloring it in quickly. Nice. Now, while it's wet, I'm going to load up my brush with a really thick, creamy version of my red. So look at how I'm using really thick paint. It has to be wet enough that it's going to still flow, but something thicker. So you might need to scoop some generous paint out of that palette. And then we're going to go in to the bottom of the cherry, mostly the bottom. Stay focused on the bottom part and drop in that creamy paint. Don't cover the whole thing. We want to leave some of the lighter pink still showing through, especially towards the top. I am going to fill in the little dip where the stem touches the cherry. Doing great. You might want even thicker paint. So not so much water in your brush at all. But just pulling it directly out of the palette right here, scooping it out. You can combine both of them. I think they look pretty when they're mixed. Yeah. And then drop it into the bottom of your cherry. Good. The thicker your paint is, the darker it's going to be, and the more rich the color. Good job. You could put a little more even down here to make it look like it's got a shadow at the bottom. Yeah. Nice. That's great. Looks really shiny. So let's take a little bit of that red and put it along the top as well. Nice job. Excellent. Okay, rinse the red out of your brush. Just use your water, rinse it all out, and dry on your paper towel or on your rag. Now, we're going to clean up our palette here. We're going to mix up a green. Do you know how to make green if you don't actually have green paint?
Yellow and blue.
Correct. So let's use the ones on the ends of our palette, this yellow and this blue. But start with yellow. So scoop some yellow out of the palette with your wet brush and swirl it around on your palette. And it can be nice and thick yellow. You might need to take more paint on your brush and swirl it around. Then just a tiny dab of blue is all you need. That's going to be probably too much, but let's see how it looks. Yeah, see, just a little goes a long way with blue. That's good. Gorgeous green. Are you ready? Let's paint in our leaf with this nice spring green color. I'm going to add just a tiny bit more blue. Yep. So we're just coloring in the leaf and the stems. Hopefully you're resting your hand on a dry part of your paper so that you can stay in the lines. Oh, that's so pretty. Good job. If you want to add any leaf details with a tiny bit of your blue, you can. Just make sure there's not too much water in your brush. So just blot it on your paper towel or on your rag to remove any excess water. And then scoop up some of that blue, and we're going to go add some lines coming from the center of our leaf. Here, try my brush. It's got a little bit finer point. Some nice little lines in your leaf. So pretty. Great job. Looks awesome. Should we add some spatter for one final effect? Because spatter's fun. Just about everybody has an old toothbrush laying around the house, right? Pretty much most people. So I'm going to dip that on the water to make it wet first. And then what color should we use for our spatter? Maybe some more of this pink or red? A little bit of pink maybe. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take my thumb and I'm just going to go, and I'm just scraping my thumb. Ooh, got some drips too. I like those. To get some spatter. Now maybe try a little more. Load up your brush. Spatter it on. Yeah. Another way to do it, I'll show you a second way to do spatter, is to use your wet brush. You can load it up with color. I'm going to take some green this time, and I'll show you how you do it with a brush. And you just tap, tap, tap. This one is a little easier probably. You want to try it with some green? Here you go. So just tap your brush over the top. Get messy. Love it. Looks great.
Why not we add one more color of spatter?
Sure. What color?
Blue.
Nice. Let's do it. And the wetter your brush, the easier it is. Yeah. Gotta stay out of the splash zone here. He's going crazy, folks. Nice. That looks beautiful. I love your cherries. Good job. Your cherries look great. Did you enjoy that?
Yes.
Good. All right, let's remove our tape and see if we preserved our pretty borders here. I kind of taped them all together. Of course, if you have wet spatter, it might take 10 minutes or so for your watercolors to dry. There. They are so delicious looking. I just want to eat cherries now. Great job, buddy. High five.
Thanks for painting with us. See you next time. Bye. Goodbye.